This is Our View, the voice of the Washington Federation of State Employees, the people who work for you. State workers at the Department of Labor and Industries have the task of inspecting work sites to assure employers are following regulations to protect the health and safety of their workers. These safety specialists are finding their services are much in demand in the private sector as their state wages keep falling further behind. The demand of the DOSH workers isn't just for higher wages, but concern of what their thinning numbers will mean to workplace safety.
This is a list of all the people who've died so far this year in the state of Washington. Work-related accidents, injuries that turned into deaths. And the reason I did this is because I'm a safety compliance officer. If we had more safety compliance officers out there, or if we were able to retain the ones that are already trained to recognize hazards, we could have done something about these, or at least tried. It's unnecessary. These are preventable deaths. Without
Experienced, seasoned compliance officers, the construction industry in King County and Washington State is not nearly as safe as it should be, as the taxpayers have paid for it to be.
DOSH has goals that they have told OSHA that they would accomplish, and we haven't met those since 2010. We hope that the OFM would look at our recruitment and retention and understand the importance to reallocate these funds in DOSH.
I have a staff of 6 employees. I only have one that has more than a year of experience. The one that has 30 years is retiring in a month. I don't have any trained staff that has been here more than a year, so I'm very concerned about what they're missing when they go out on job sites. If I've given them enough knowledge to be able to do a job in a year that it usually takes 3 or 4 to get good at.
We're spending more right now training new people than what it would cost to keep the trained professionals that we have. The turnover has reached such a point where we don't have qualified people to go out and do a good job on a job site, and this shortchanges the workers of the state of Washington.
When people are driving down the road and they see those huge tower cranes, part of the reason those things aren't falling on top of their cars is that we have crane inspectors that are out there. When people go over to Lake Chelan for a vacation and they get on one of the charter vessels over there, part of the reason that thing is staying afloat is our people are inspecting those things. When their loved ones go to work and they go to construction sites, we have a compliance staff and we have a volunteer consultation staff that we're out there enforcing safety and health rules so that some little boy or some little girl isn't waiting in the driveway one day for their mom or their dad or their brother and sister to come home, and they're not coming home because they've been seriously injured or they've been killed on the job.
I work in the construction industry. I see it every day. You need people with experience to inspect job sites. You don't have that here anymore. I'm one reason why I left. It's important to me. That's why the laborers are supporting DOSH to get better wages, to keep retention issues at bay.
The governing body of international soccer, FIFA, recently rid itself of a corrupt director and hired a replacement. It was hoped the change would begin to solve the horrible human rights issue tainting the building of the venues for the 2022 World Cup to be held in the Middle Eastern nation of Qatar. That hope is now gone, according to Sharon Burrow, ITUC General Secretary, who's been speaking out on the plight of the workers there since the projects began.
Qatar is a slave state. Workers in Qatar, 1.4 million workers, migrant workers, they are effectively owned by another human being. The state of Qatar runs a slavery system, a system of modern slavery called the kafala system. They refuse to change. You are contracted, often to go from an Asian country or an African country to Nepal as a poor worker desperate to earn income, to find the contract you signed is torn up and you're often paid less than half of the wages you were guaranteed. Sometimes you're not paid for months on end. Indeed, you will have already paid potentially up to $2,000 or more US dollars for the right to work in Qatar. That's a fortune. People can't afford it, they borrow it, or their families chip in. And then, of course, you're stranded in Qatar with an employer who totally controls your life. You're forced to live in squalid accommodation. You are, in fact, forced to work long hours in extreme heat, 6, 7 days a week, 8, 10, 12 hours a day, return to squalid conditions where you live and food that is of poor quality. People's lives are at risk, the death rate is unbelievable, and indeed FIFA has contributed to legitimating this system because they awarded the World Cup to Qatar without conditions. They could have seen off the kafala system, seen off modern slavery. They of course have been exposed, and we're proud of having a part in that for the corrupt institution they are. But their new leadership appears to be no different. Infantino is demanding more than $2 million in salary. He says $2 million is an insult. He's actually now changed the independent rules around the ethics committee, the remuneration committee. So more of the same. It appears to us that FIFA is business as usual. I was in Qatar with FIFA and John Ruggie and the sponsors of the games, and indeed the Ruggie report showed absolutely that FIFA has a responsibility to actually make sure workers' rights are met, that there's compliance and there's a grievance mechanism. That means Qatar has to play the game. But in fact, what we saw was excuses, an attempt to snow people that they would make some changes. Nothing has changed. And the sponsors know that their reputation is at risk. They're becoming impatient. We're beyond patient. There is no room for slavery in the modern world.
The month of October is an important deadline for people receiving Medicare coverage. You might be faced with choices that are confusing, but fortunately, there are state employees and a program who will help you.
Really important thing is even if you're happy with your current coverage, it can change from one year to the next. So the first message we want to give people is during the fall, sometime in October, they should get mail from their current insurer or supplement. They should look at that and read what it says and make sure they understand it. If they have any questions, they should ask them then, because plans can change from one year to the next. The coverage and the costs can change. And if they do nothing, they may end up in January in a plan that doesn't work for them as well as it had the year before. So that's the first message, is read your mail. And the next message is come to us, we can help you do a comparison, because especially with prescription drug coverage through Medicare, but also with Medicare Advantage plans and other supplements, sometimes from one year to the next, it makes sense to shop and really make sure they're in the best possible plan for the upcoming year. People's health status changes, their circumstances change from year to year, and that's usually the one time people can change. If they don't, sometimes they're locked in for the rest of the next calendar year. Give us a call, 1-800-562-6900. We also are on the web, but the best way really to get started is to call our toll-free number.
A full-time job is the anchor for a family. However, if the job lacks in fair pay, needed benefits, and even causes safety concerns, a day's work is nothing more than a path of barely surviving. Not a good experience for William Russell, a hard worker supporting his family at a non-union steel fabrication facility in Southwest Washington.
I worked there for almost 2 years. There were numerous times where we had to use equipment that we weren't supposed to be using to hang really heavy steel, 4,000 or 5,000 pounds. We were using scissor lifts, and it really felt real sketchy a lot of the times that we were doing that, when I knew that we needed a crane to come in and do that. No water on the jobs. When it was snowing outside and raining, there was no break shacks to go to, no place to warm up our food and dry off and change clothes if we needed to. We spoke out and they had never had an excuse for us. It was just, that's just the way it is. Basically, deal with it. Well, on February 27th, when myself and other co-workers decided to speak up for ourselves and demand that the conditions change, we were terminated. We were sent a text message and said, return anything that belongs to the company. None of your conditions will be met.
Sorry about that, William. And that's the plight of far too many workers. But William was determined to provide a better life for his family. The answer was union. He is now a member of a building trades union, and his workday is very different, as is his ability to take care of his family.
A lot changed. We were trained in the areas where we needed to be trained, as far as safety, as far as the equipment that we were using. Better health insurance, better dental, retirement plan. My family is looking real bright for my family. We have insurance that we can afford for myself and my son and for my wife. Gosh, there's so many things I can think of right now that are just boggling around in my head.
This has been Our View, brought to you by the people of the Washington Federation of State Employees. We remind you that when you accept a paycheck for your hard work, you don't give up your rights. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next month.
I've been a zookeeper for 20 years.
My job title is mental health technician.
I'm a correctional officer sergeant for a male facility.
I'm an office support supervisor.
I am a custodian with the University of Iowa.
I'm an administrative assistant,
a school bus driver for Atlanta Public Schools.
We actually sing songs on our bus, and the kids go home every night and they write a story.
I like helping the little people more than those at the top, but they all generally have the same questions. They're all worried about the same thing. What's going to happen? What can I do? Who can I talk to?
When I go out there and I take care of that intersection, I know that my mom is driving on there, my sisters are driving on those streets.
If I wasn't there to do the work that I do, I think that the patient would suffer. It's very rewarding for someone to say, well, thank you, Dennis, for helping me when I needed it most.
There are times where I get overwhelmed, or there seems like there's a huge impossible problem that I have no idea how I'm going to fix. First thing I do is I reach out to my union brothers and sisters.
You're not out there on your own, so you can take that next step with confidence. To have millions of brothers and sisters behind you is an awesome thought.
When we fight to break down those barriers, keeping us from negotiating our work or caring for our families, we are fighting for all Americans.
We are ready at any time to go fight the fight, whether it's for the public, whether it's for our rights. There is no rest. Justice never sleeps.
Keep pushing. Keep pushing. Don't give up, because sooner or later, it's going to be rewarding.
The clouds are lifting. The future is ours for the taking. And our plan is real simple. Never quit. To anyone who questions our dignity or insults our work, we say we'll never quit on ourselves, on each other, on our union, on our communities.
I spend 40 hours a week with these people. It's like my second family.
When they're hurting, you know when they're hurting, and you try all that you can to see if you can make that hurt go away. I just get choked up when I think about it, just how proud I am to be a member of AFSCME.
We need a movement, not a moment, that will not turn back. We have to have a movement where all of us together, for the sake of love and justice, decide we're not going to give up.
I am AFSCME.
I'm AFSCME.
I'm AFSCME,
and I never quit.
We're AFSCME,
and we never quit.
AFSCME never quits.